Good evening, my dear friends. Tonight I'm going to share with you the most liberating, most revolutionary truth you will ever hear. It's a truth so radical that your mind will resist it, so profound that once you grasp it, you can never see reality the same way again. Here it is. All creation is finished. Everything exists now. Nothing is being created. Everything is being made manifest. I can see the confusion on your faces already. But Neville, you're thinking, things are being created every day. New inventions, new buildings, new babies, new everything. No. Listen carefully. Things are being made visible every day. Things are being manifested, revealed, brought forth from the invisible into the visible. But created? No. All creation was finished at the foundation of the world. This isn't mystical speculation. This is the fundamental law of existence. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, past tense. Finished, complete. And then what? And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. Not will make, not is making had made. Complete. Finished. Everything that could ever exist already exists. Every possibility, every potential, every version of you, every desire you could ever have. It all exists right now in the eternal present moment. Your only task is not to create it, but to become aware of it, to tune into it, to claim it. Think about this carefully. When you desire something, anything, where does that desire come from? Does it spring from nothing? Can you desire what doesn't exist? No. You can only desire what already exists. Your desire is your awareness being drawn toward something that already is. When a seed desires to become a tree, is it creating the tree? No. The tree already exists within the seed, complete and perfect. The seed simply unfolds what is already there. You are the same. Your desires are not creating new realities. They're unfolding realities that already exist in the infinite field of consciousness. Let me tell you about a conversation I had that changed how I understood this principle. A scientist came to my lectures, a man trained in logic and evidence. He challenged me. Mr. Goddard, you speak of all creation being finished, but I work in a laboratory. I create new compounds every day that never existed before. How can you say nothing is being created? I smiled at him. Sir, tell me, what are these compounds made of? Atoms, molecules, elements from the periodic table. And were these atoms created by you? No, they existed before. So you're not creating anything new. You're simply rearranging what already exists into new patterns. The pattern is new to your awareness, but the fundamental substance was already there. You're discovering, not creating. He sat silently, the truth dawning on him. Finally, he said, then everything I've ever invented already existed? I was just finding it? Exactly, I said. Every invention throughout human history already existed as potential in the infinite field of possibilities. The inventor didn't create it. He became aware of it. He tuned into the frequency where that invention already existed, and he brought it forth into visibility. This is the great secret. You don't create your desires. You claim them. You don't make them real. You recognize that they already are real. You don't bring them into existence. You bring them into your experience. A woman once came to me desperate for a child. She had been trying for years with no success. She prayed, she begged, she pleaded with God to create a child for her. Please, she cried, let me have a child. I stopped her. Madam, your prayer is founded on a misunderstanding. God is not going to create a baby for you. Creation is finished. But your baby already exists, right now, in this moment. In the infinite field of all possibilities, your baby exists complete and perfect. Then why don't I have my baby? She asked desperately. Because you're not tuned to the frequency where you have your baby. You're tuned to the frequency where you're trying to have a baby. You're living in the consciousness of wanting, not having. You're praying to a God outside yourself to create something, when you should be claiming what already exists by occupying the consciousness of a mother. I taught her to stop begging for creation and start claiming what was already created. Your baby exists now, I told her. Feel the reality of being a mother, not hoping to become one, not trying to become one, but being one. The baby is already yours. You're simply making yourself aware of it. She practiced this faithfully. Within 2 months, she was pregnant. But here's what fascinated me. When she told me the news, she wasn't surprised. She said, "Of course, I've been a mother in consciousness for weeks now. My body is simply catching up to where I already am. This is what I mean by all creation finished." The baby wasn't created when she conceived. The baby already existed in consciousness, and she simply tuned into the reality where the baby was hers. Now, this principle extends to everything. That relationship you desire, it exists now. That career you dream of, it exists now. That health, that wealth, that success, that joy, all of it exists now. Not in the future, not as a possibility that might happen, but now, complete and perfect in the infinite present moment. But Neville, you ask, if everything already exists, why do I experience lack? Why don't I have what I desire? Because consciousness is selective. At any moment, you're tuned into one frequency of reality out of infinite frequencies. You're experiencing one version of the infinite possibilities that exist. The version you experience is determined entirely by your consciousness, by where your awareness is tuned. Think of it like a radio. Every station is broadcasting simultaneously. Music, news, talk shows, all broadcasting right now through the air around you. But you only hear one station at a time, depending on where you tune the dial. The other stations don't stop existing because you're not tuned to them. They're all there, all real, all broadcasting simultaneously. Reality is the same. Every possible version of your life exists right now. The version where you're wealthy and the version where you're poor. The version where you're healthy and the version where you're sick. The version where you're loved and the version where you're lonely. All existing simultaneously. Your consciousness is the dial. Where you tune it determines which version you experience. And you tune it not through physical action, not through effort or struggle, but through assumption. Through claiming in consciousness the reality you wish to experience. Let me share a personal example. When I was in Barbados, I desired to be in New York studying these principles. Now, was New York created when I got there? Of course not. New York already existed. My journey to New York wasn't creating anything new. It was simply moving me from the awareness of being in Barbados to the awareness of being in New York. But here's the crucial point. I didn't move to New York first in the physical world. I moved to New York first in consciousness. I tuned into the frequency where I was already in New York. I lived in that awareness so completely that Barbados felt like the dream and New York felt like the reality. The physical journey, the ship, the travel, the arrival, all of that was simply consciousness in motion, reality rearranging itself to match where I already was in awareness. This is what I mean when I say nothing is being created. Everything is being revealed, manifested, made visible. But it all already exists in the infinite now. A businessman asked me, "Are you saying my company's future success already exists somewhere?" "Not somewhere," I corrected him. "Right here, right now. Your successful company exists in this moment as completely as your current struggling company. Both exist. Both are real. The question is, which one are you tuned into?" "The struggling one, obviously," he said. "That's my reality. That's your current experience," I said. But experience and reality are not the same thing. Reality is infinite and contains all possibilities. Your experience is singular and reflects your current consciousness. Change your consciousness and you change your experience. But you're not creating new reality. You're selecting different reality. He looked doubtful. This sounds too simple. It is simple, I agreed. But simple doesn't mean easy. Most people find it incredibly difficult to tune their consciousness away from what their senses show them and toward what they desire. But those who master this art discover that reality is infinitely malleable, because they understand they're not trying to create or change anything. They're simply selecting from what already exists. This man applied this understanding. Instead of trying to build his success, he tuned into the frequency where his success already existed. Within 6 months, his business had transformed. But he told me something interesting. The changes didn't feel like I was building something new. They felt like I was revealing something that was already there, waiting to be discovered. Exactly, because that's precisely what happened. Now, here's where this teaching becomes incredibly practical. If all creation is finished, if everything already exists, then your task is not to create your desire or make it happen. Your task is simply to claim it, to occupy the consciousness where your desire is already yours. How do you do this? You assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not as something that will be fulfilled someday, but as something that is fulfilled now, because it is fulfilled now in consciousness where all reality exists. When you desire health, you're not asking God to create health for you. Health already exists. You're simply tuning into the frequency where you're healthy. When you desire wealth, you're not trying to create money. Money already exists. Billions of dollars exist right now. You're tuning into the consciousness where that wealth is yours. This understanding changes everything. It removes strain, effort, struggle. You're not trying to make something happen. You're not trying to force reality to bend to your will. You're simply claiming what already is. A young lady once said to me, "But Mr. Goddard, this seems almost too easy. If everything already exists, why isn't everyone just claiming whatever they want?" Because I replied, most people don't believe it. They think they must create, earn, deserve, or work for their desires. They think reality is fixed and they must manipulate it through action. They don't understand that consciousness is the only reality, and that tuning consciousness is the only action required. But doesn't this make us lazy? She asked. If we just assume we have things, won't we stop working? On the contrary, I said, when you truly assume you have your desire, you naturally take the actions that someone with that desire would take. But these actions flow effortlessly because you're acting from fulfillment, not toward it. You're not trying to make something happen. You're simply being who you already are in consciousness. Let me give you a practice for tonight. Choose one desire, just one. Instead of thinking about how to create it, how to make it happen, or when it will arrive, simply acknowledge this truth: it already exists. Right now, in this moment, your desire fulfilled is as real as anything you can touch or see. Now tune into that reality. Feel yourself in the consciousness where this desire is already yours. Not will be yours, not might be yours, but is yours. How would you feel? How would you think? How would you move through the world? Occupy that consciousness, not as pretending, not as visualization, not as hoping, but as recognition of what already is. You're not creating anything, you're claiming what's already created. Do this consistently and watch what happens. The physical world will begin to reflect the consciousness you're occupying, not because you're creating new reality, but because you're experiencing different reality. Reality that was always there, waiting for you to tune into it. One final story. A man came to me completely broken. He had lost his job, his savings, his confidence. "Mr. Goddard," he said, "my life is destroyed. I need to start over to create a new life from scratch." "No," I said firmly. "You don't need to create anything. The life you desire already exists right now. You don't need to start over. You need to tune in." "But how can the life I desire exist when everything is falling apart?" Because I explained everything falling apart is one frequency of reality. But simultaneously there exists the frequency where everything is coming together, where you're employed, prosperous, confident, both exist now. You've been tuned to the falling apart station, tuned to the coming together station. He looked at me as if I'd spoken in a foreign language, but something in my certainty must have reached him, because he asked, "How do I change the station?" "Stop trying to fix what's falling apart," I said. "That just keeps you tuned to that frequency. Instead, feel yourself already living the life you desire. Feel the relief of being employed. Feel the security of having money. Feel the confidence of success. Don't try to create these things, they already exist. Just tune into them." He did. And within weeks, opportunities began appearing. Within months, his life had completely turned around. When I saw him again, he said, "You were right. I wasn't building a new life. I was discovering a life that was already there, waiting for me to notice it. This is the truth, my friends. All creation is finished. Everything exists now. Your only task is to select through your consciousness which reality you will experience. Stop trying to create and start claiming. Stop trying to make it happen and start recognizing it already is. Stop living in the consciousness of wanting and start living in the consciousness of having. Everything you desire exists now. The question is not whether it exists, but whether you will claim it. Will you tune your consciousness to the frequency where your desire is already yours? The power is within you. The reality is already created. Your work is simply to claim it. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video.